Hey, everybody, welcome to my new episode of Let's Talk. For today's guest, we have a special friend of mine. She is a software engineer, and we'll be talking a lot about software engineering in the United States. And before that, we start. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I really hope you would do that. And also follow me in Facebook and Instagram. These informations are all going to be in the description below. So we'll get started with our new episode with Rashmi Dahal, software engineer, my dear friend. Welcome to my podcast.
Hello. Thank you, Abhash, for having me. I'm honored to be a guest on your world famous podcast.
Okay. Oh, she's funny. She's a good friend of mine. So thank you for thank you for coming to my podcast. And one thing I really wanted to talk to you about is you're a software engineer, and you worked in a lot of different companies, and we studied together. And I really wanted to go through about knowing the ins and outs of being a software engineer, working in an IT field in the United States. There's been a lot of questions. Like there's a lot of Nepalese students or international students who come to the United States and try to study in the field of computer engineering or computer. And then there's a lot of questions that I hope we can talk a few things about that and a few other things. But yeah, please do tell me a little bit of your background.
Okay, so in college, I studied computer science. But in order to be a software engineer, you don't really need to get a computer science degree. You can get any other IT related degree, like information systems or computer engineering, or sometimes you don't even require a 4-year college degree, because these days software companies are so open, and if you have good programming knowledge, which you can get anywhere outside by going to boot camp or something like that, you don't really need to get a degree. But in my case, I went to college to get a computer science degree, and that's how I get into this field.
Yeah, so to even begin starting to go into the IT field, I think we we come to the United States to go for our undergrad degree, get our undergrad degree, get your OPT, get a lot of people do internship, a lot of people work, and then there's a whole procedures of a lot of international students, as you had, everybody has to face in order to just get a job. So I remember you, after you graduated, did you already, once you graduate in computer science degree, as you said, did you apply for a job, or did you get internship as such?
So when I was on my 4th year in college, there was this internship program called Maverick Software Consulting. It's basically a consulting firm that hires college students, and then they will make those students work for client companies for cheaper than they will pay you less compared to I mean, it's a real internship, but it's not an internship where you go to a client company and work there. So because of that, they will pay you less. But at the end, it's a real internship, and you will still make that connection, and you will have an opportunity to get a full-time job once you graduate, this is kind of a win-win situation for both consulting company as well as the students. And that's how so I did my internship with them. Mm-hmm. And it was really easy because their office is on campus. Usually this Maverick Software Consulting is really unique in that way, because they will have their offices in the university itself, so you don't have to go anywhere to do your internship.
So what I'm getting at is, so there are companies, a lot of companies in United States have somewhat of a somewhat approach in colleges where they bring in some kind of partnership with the university or so on to bring in the interns and pay a
Yep.
little bit. If you say if you are partnered with the school, they might not pay you as well as they would have when they hired you as an intern. But the good thing is you get an experience. You get a easy way in. Is that?
Yeah, that's exactly what this was. This was an internship through a third party consulting company. That's why you get paid a little bit less than doing a regular internship with the um, uh, with the companies directly. But at the end of the day, this is also an internship, and you basically get the same value. It's just that you get paid a little bit less when you are
So
in the university.
yeah, so this was more related to you in your university, but do you think like other universities also have such programs where students can go do an internship, which is more like a partnered with school? Or I believe like it's not a prevalent thing, but is it?
So I know in Minnesota, this Maverick Software Consulting, the company that I'm talking about, is based on Minnesota. It was created by someone who is a Minnesotan. So I know he has this program on a few different universities around here. Like I think Mankato has one, University of Minnesota has one, St. Cloud State University used to have one, but it doesn't exist anymore. But that's another story. There was some, I don't know, disagreements between the company they were working with.
And that's where you
But
came from, right?
yes, yes.
So I think after they got you, they were like, "Oh, she's the best. We don't need any more."
Yeah, we got what we wanted. No more.
I see a hand over there on the
Oh,
side. Oh, he can join in, the friend.
he's just saying hi.
Okay. Hello there. So, regarding those like internships program, I know like a lot of the students once they graduate, they never have an internship. They basically graduate and then they go out in the job market and they try to find an internship or they try to find in job applications. And as we all know, anybody who tried like applying for a job is like they always ask for an internship with 5 years experience if they can. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so can you tell me like an experience of like if you have heard like any other stories like regarding those kind of like good or bad like internship stories?
Um, from my experience in the IT industry, there is so many opportunities right now. I think it's one of the fields where you can find jobs really easily. So I've only heard about like good experiences from people because it's jobs are so easily available and there's so many jobs out there. They're always looking for people. So if you have the skills, I think it's really easy to find internships. And even without those consulting or third party companies, you can directly apply to the software companies directly and get hired as intern directly. And personally, I know few of my friends from college who got the internships that way,
Okay,
by
and
by directly applying to the companies.
but that's not as the same process when you are an international student, right? There's a lot of hurdles I've heard.
Yeah, it's a bit, it's a bit challenging for sure, because the end goal for the companies for hiring an intern is that they want, eventually they're looking to hire a full-time employee, right?
Yeah.
So um if you are an international student, there is always that thing that they will have to sponsor you at some point for your visa. So
The sponsorship is a big issue with a lot of things, and for people who like are just getting into the United States, trying to study and go for the computer degree and trying to find a job, or in any field, as an international students, there are so many hurdles. As you said, the sponsorship is going to be one of the major hurdle for anybody
yeah.
to get you in. But go ahead, like you were talking about, like
Yeah, so that's one of the challenging things about, not just in the IT industry, that's a challenge in every industry for an international student, right?
yeah.
But I think what is good about software industry or IT industry in general is like these IT industries, IT companies are so rich, they are, most of the times they're willing to sponsor, I think. I mean, some of the smaller companies are not so willing, but if the companies are well established, reputed software companies, they will have not they won't have any problem sponsoring you as long as you're a good qualified candidate, I think, in my experience.
So from what I've heard, I know the software companies in United States feels uh, there's a lot of it here, and they are
Mm-hmm.
flowing with money because there's a lot of money to be made in software companies. You're
Yeah.
laughing. I know you're doing good with
No,
yourself.
no, but I feel like I feel like software is like this new, I mean, I don't know if it's new, but like they usually have the money.
You're just laughing every time you say money, but yeah, there you go. But yes, as you work in the IT field, and there's a lot of those high-paying jobs in the United States. What I feel is there's a lot of high-paying jobs that are being taken, but mostly by Asian communities, and a lot of Nepalese, a lot of Indians, Chinese, and the Silicon Valley is basically a lot of them is the demographic is Asian. That's because a lot of Asians who come to United States for your like undergrad degree or master's degree or just immigrate here feel like that's where usually mom and dad wants you to work be like computer engineer and that's the perfect place to make high money too. So
Yeah.
do you ever felt like how many Asians were there at your companies?
Oh, there is a lot actually. There's a lot of Indians, there's a lot of Chinese, there is quite a few Nepalese nowadays. So yeah, there is a lot of Asian people.
Yeah, we're not being stereotypical, but a lot of Asians do love to work in IT field, I feel.
Because Asians are smart.
Well, I think I would beg to differ in my case.
No, I'm just kidding, obviously. But
But, yeah,
but Asians are hardworking, I think.
yeah, I mean, yes, we have Asians definitely feel like they have culturally with a parental direction to go make some money, like in the field of IT or a lot of being doctor or computer. You almost feel like being doctor in United States is extremely hard. That I'm for sure. But for in IT, as you said, you don't even need a computer science degree.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of ways to get into the IT degree. I've heard of a lot of consultancy working with those. But
Yep.
for you exactly, do you know what kind of as your coworkers, different coworkers come from different field. What are the different fields that you have seen they have come into your work and like field of study or
Yeah.
field of work?
So one of my coworkers was a psychology major in undergrad. And after she did her undergrad, for whatever reason, she didn't find a job in her related field. So she decided to go to a boot camp and get a certification, basically. And that's how, but she's an American, so that might have contributed to her finding the job easily. But people also come from like psychology background and things like that. You know what I mean? So you don't really need a degree as per se.
Is it easy first say someone who doesn't have a degree or have a degree in something else and come into IT field, which is like really goodly paid, but you don't need a background in such. So is it like an easy job in your sense?
You mean like the actual
Job
job when
itself?
you
Yeah,
do it?
yeah.
It's not easy. It's not. It's actually quite hard. You have to know what you're doing for sure. But what I'm trying to say is, in order to know how to do your job, you don't really need to go to school and get a 4-year degree. Because, okay, for example, in my case, I went to St. Cloud State and got my computer science degree, right? But in reality, I think there were like 10, maybe even less classes that were actually hardcore programming classes. The rest of the classes were like general education, English, some science courses, all of that. So at the end, I feel like I didn't really need to learn all of those other things in order to do what I'm doing right now. I could have basically been able to do this by just learning those 5 or 6
different classes or like
classes. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes I do feel like colleges are like, I don't know,
it's just place to go party.
abusing people.
Hey, well, I would agree on that.
No, but like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But for international students, I would definitely recommend getting a degree because that plays a big role in making a good impression on your part when you're looking for a job. But the only thing that I'm trying to say is it's not a solid requirement.
Mhm. So even after you got internship, like how much is it a probability of the companies hiring you?
I would say more than 75% of the times they will hire you.
Is it like that? Like probability?
Yeah, I mean, if you really suck, you will probably not get it.
Okay.
But most of the times people are generally good, right? So I feel like if you got an internship, you will most likely get the full-time job, because for the companies, they're looking to save money like all the time. So they had this intern who was working for them for like 3 months or whatever. During that time, that intern learned so much. If they hired someone else, they would have to train that person, and it's probably going to take them like more than
But they're trying to
that.
be efficient, like with whatever they have, instead of taking a risk with somebody else who might not work that well, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have already established that relationship with your company, and the company knows what kind of a person you are, and they basically trained you already. So why would they go through the same effort in trying to hire someone else if you are already there and you know what you're doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess this is a big lesson for a lot of people who are in IT field, is like, or want to go in any field, is don't wait for you to graduate. Just try to find an internship. Like I really feel like once you graduate and try to find an internship, it's gonna be a lot of pain that you gotta realize.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know, right? When we first come to the US, like, I mean, even I didn't know anything. Like, I didn't know what an internship was, even, because I just kind of like went with the flow with everything. So but universities like St. Cloud State are really good with having career fairs from time to time, and they will actually give you seminars about how to go and talk to these companies and how to apply and how to write your resume and how to basically prepare yourself, how to dress for an interview and things like that. So I think if you're aware and paying attention, it's relatively, I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, but if you're willing to put in the effort, you can find it.
Yeah, I guess this like willing to put that effort is like a secret recipe for anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
you gotta be ready for all the good and bad of the any industry. And as you
Yeah.
said, like you came as a you came to United States. What, it's been like 10, 11 years. We came together, I think.
Yeah.
So
2008
okay, and
fall.
like can you just talk to me about like your experience from coming to United States and like choosing your major field? Like I believe, did you start on, like when you came to United States, did you focus on I'm going to be a software engineer, or did you have some different aim or projectile where you wanted to head?
Yeah, I actually knew that I wanted to do computer science when I first came here, because when I was applying to come to the US, I was already doing computer science back home. So I had already studied one semester at St. Xavier's. Um, so I don't know how I decided to join computer science there. Like I was always interested in computers, I guess. Um, and I didn't have any other talents or anything. So I was just looking to do something that will eventually land me a stable job, I guess.
So
So, but when I came to the US, I knew I wanted to do computer science.
yeah, I don't know about you not having a talent, but I know you're really smart for you. Like I know you for a long time, and you're super smart.
For me,
Yeah. But
thank you, Abhash. That's so sweet of you.
okay, I'm just making it up. You're like, no way, you're smart.
Uh,
Just kidding. But yeah, it's like I know how much you struggled. Like a lot of people who go into field of IT, a lot of them are like they catch it pretty easily, and like some of them are just like I can't get it. That includes me. I wanted to go into IT, but that was just like this is not for me, and that's when I feel a lot of people are not being honest to themselves when they say like maybe IT is not for me and they just wanted to work just because there's a lot of family pressure or there's just a lot of money in there. But like, do you feel like there are a lot of people who just is there to just do the job and get home and do something else?
you mean if there are people that are in this field just to make the money?
Yeah, and that's like they don't care about it.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, because, like I said, it's relatively easier to find jobs in this field, and you make a pretty good living if you are in the software industry. So I'm sure there are a lot of people that just wanted to make a good living and live a comfortable life.
And that's really true. Like
But
mhm.
but having said that, I do feel like it can get frustrating from time to time if you are in this field for that reason, because at the end of the day you have to do your job, and if you're not interested in it, it can basically make your life hell.
Well, like, do you have stories like of things like you really hate about this field?
Yeah, especially when we have deadlines, like from time to time. So if I'm working on something really high pressure, like a feature that has to be released this weekend or like next Monday or something like that, there will be times where all of my team members will sit in one room and we will be coding together, testing together like all day. And sometimes we don't even take lunch breaks. So we will have those moments from time to time, and it can get really frustrating
Oh, those
those
sounds like
times.
interesting. Like just to be like together, code, and those are more like a typical stereotypes of oh, what is computer engineer like? Whoever does in IT is be in front of the computer and work. But
Yeah, like it's like those movies where you're like,
yeah, like how much
it
of
will
those?
take 1 hour, but oh yeah, I'm in. Like hackers.
So like compared to the movies, like IT people, like who go into like the computer specialist who need to hack something, and as a
Yeah,
computer engineer, how much do you relate with those kind of people?
not at all, because I'm not a hacker. I'm not that skilled.
So I know like a lot of those hackers and software like at least in the movies they make it feel like it's like oh intense like you got the more faster you type the better you are.
Yeah,
Like the
and
faster you type.
in the movies they will have those screens where you can touch like blah blah blah, like touch anywhere and like something will happen, pop pop pop. I I mean, we are living in the 21st century, but we still don't have those technologies yet, I
So
guess.
like for giving your work like compared to the movie IT like movie computer people, I would just say computer people, but let's say hackers and so on, compared to that kind of job and what you do, like how much of a difference is it in the technology side?
I mean,
Oh, okay. Let me rephrase that. They do it super fast. There's just like boom, boom. I type it, I code it. But like for you, for people who, and I have a lot of we have a lot of computer engineer friends. There to solve anything really minor, right? You have to work like a couple of weeks to solve a little bit of thing.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So every company has their process, right, of getting things done. So you can't just be like, boom, boom, boom. Okay, this is in. You have to first get approved and then actually come up with an idea on how you're gonna solve the problem and then actually solve the problem. And then there will also be this process where you have to show your code to your coworkers and be like this is called code review. So your teammates have to actually look at your code and approve it and make sure that this is actually what everyone wants. And then finally after that, then only you can check in your code. So it's not as fast and
You almost make
smooth.
it seem like it's like a parliament, and where everybody gets to vote, and then get approved, and then somebody has to like once they have a final fixed idea, then everybody approves and start working.
Yeah, exactly, because I mean, uh, it's a teamwork, right? And like whatever team you're working on, they are working towards a common goal. So there will be this one big big feature that you're trying to accomplish, and maybe you're only working on one small part of that feature and other team members are working on other different parts. So you want to make sure that you're not breaking whatever other people are working on
And with
by
with this
just
like
checking in your code.
yeah, so with all of those like trust and mistrust within your coworkers, like everybody's getting each other toes sometimes. Like do you ever feel like how well do you get to know other like your coworkers, because nowadays with the COVID thing happening, everybody's working from home. So how
Yep.
much like how is your teamwork been going on?
We chat a lot on like Slack. We used to use Slack. This is like a communicating
Hmm.
channel, but nowadays we use Teams, and I'm on Teams
Microsoft Teams,
like
yeah.
more than, yeah, Microsoft Teams more than 50% of the time, communicating, just chatting with people back and forth. And we have a lot of Zoom meetings. So yeah, it's a teamwork. There's no doubt about that. It's a lot of teamwork.
And before like before you started working at home, like when you worked in an office, how's the office culture? Like I wanted to know because uh, I know there's a lot of discussions among like having like women not being paid equally. There's a lot of cases about why is there not many female in the STEM industry. Like what has been your work culture in, like from your experience, not the place you work now, not just the place you work now, but from the beginning?
From my experience, there is way less women than men in IT industry, but I feel like that's true for any other industry. Um, Women are still, I don't know, for whatever reason, um,
Yep.
lagging
Yeah.
behind
Uh,
in
I,
professional
yeah.
career.
I don't feel that for at least for nursing and other like caretaking kind of field. Those are when women are really dominating those fields. But it almost feels like the IT has a little bit bad rep among women. It's just like they're not interested. Maybe that's somewhat of a natural thing, but for you, it never felt like that, I believe.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, okay, to be honest, when I was in St. Cloud State, there were only two women in every computer science class that I took. It was
Out
me
of
and my friend. Yeah,
out of
me
how
and
many
my
people?
other, out of like 20, 25 people in one class, there were two women, me and my one other friend, Nikita Tandon, who is Indian. So it was just the two women and like 22 guys or whatever. And that trend has continued even in professional career, even at work. The majority of people that I work with are men, and there is very few women.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I thought those trend would actually break because there's a lot of field, as you said, there's a lot of money in it, a lot of international students. There's number of international students coming to United States from Nepal. I don't know the exact number, but almost feels women. The number of women are a little bit more than male. not quite sure about it, but it's almost equal, let's say. But the people who go into IT field are really less for the women.
Yeah,
And
yeah. And I have noticed that there is even fewer American women in IT for whatever reason.
yeah,
It
that's even
could be,
more.
yeah, I don't know if it's because of the culture or I don't know. That's one of the things that I have actually been thinking about. I haven't figured out why, but that's
Is
something
your
I've
job
noticed.
boring?
You do you want me to be honest or
Really honest, like
give you
honest. I know every single job is boring once it happens. You happen to do it.
yeah.
So
If it's a job, it's boring.
true.
And if you're doing something for fun, like if I work on my own project, for example, like from time to time, I try to like write some fun apps or something.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in doing things for myself, which I enjoy, rather than my company making me like do something for them. You know what I mean?
So it's there's a fun aspect of it, there's a boring aspect of it, but why is it that only men find it, like, even though it's maybe boring or fun, like men are more into it than a lot of women. A lot of our friends, women usually go into nursing and they find it really satisfying for it. But you can understand men don't go into nursing that often too. And
Yeah,
that's another place where, like, why don't men go into nursing? And that's maybe some sociocultural, like societal aspect of what you think that is a good job for men, good job for women. Maybe
yeah,
that's where it is, but I don't think there should be that. But there's definitely, like, we would love to have like more people in IT industry. That's one
yeah,
of the things that's really intrigued me.
yeah. One of the reasons could be that young women are probably not exposed to this field as a career when they're young. Like they don't even consider it, oh, this could be an option when you grow up,
That's true.
because young women are always encouraged to like play with their dolls, like I don't know, I mean, so like I, you know where I'm
Yeah,
going with this.
yeah. That's more obvious, but
We are trained in a certain way, no matter like how advanced or modern we claim ourselves to be, there is still that part in society where we still see those gender stereotypes, and
and it's
it might
natural
not.
too, right? Like almost feel like you g-
I'm sorry.
no, you feel that too. Okay, you feel that too, right? Like even if there's doll or something, like a lot of um, girls have to play with dolls, boys have to play with cars and so things. But
Yep.
if you break them up, like, okay, for girls, if you give like or you play with cars, and boys you play with dolls, they'll just see around, maybe the cultures like that, or even the naturally they'll try to feel like they get divided. When they make their own choices, they still want to do it that way. Not saying one is good or the bad. Maybe playing with dolls is way better. Even like when I was a kid, I had a doll. So, and I had a car and everything too. So it just there's a trend of being naturally attracted to something. Maybe I'm naturally attracted to working in a computer in front of like closed space, or being out in the field of nursing and any other fields where you get more exposure to people. And there's some kind of difference between men and women. I have no idea which is what, or which is good or bad. There's probably no better, but almost feels like there's a somewhat, it's more natural. There's more
I,
natural
I
occurrence.
think I mean, I kind of understand what you're trying to say, but I feel like in my opinion, it's only that way because women, okay, so when we are encouraging young girls to play with dolls and young boys to play with cars and stuff, young girls are not looking at this car or whatever, the technology toy, as a fun thing. So they're like, oh, this is not fun. Why should I be interested? So they never, I think, develop that fun, that technology could be fun mindset growing up. So I think it just keeps they just keep getting alienated from that aspect from their childhood itself,
Yeah,
I
like
think.
okay. So, for, like, do you have like family members, others who study in United States?
Yes, my brother, he is in Houston. He
So,
studied mechanical engineering.
so a lot of guys into mechanical engineering and engineering field.
Yep.
And of course, you are like studying in. You went in the IT profession or computer science profession. And do you feel like compared to your coworkers too? Like, are there like a lot of them have their own stories? You probably have like a lot of stories of their family pressuring them to be IT engineer, or like what kind of family responses have there been that you have heard of pressuring them to work for, especially for guys or even for girls, to go into field, choose a field, predetermined field?
Um, I think in our culture, in Nepalese culture, that's very common because our moms and dads, all they want is for their kids to have a stable job, and they know that going into IT can make sure that they will have a stable job eventually, so that they won't have to worry about money. Rather than if you try to pursue a career in like music or
Pointing at me. Yeah.
arts or something like that.
Yeah.
No, but that's really brave of you, Abhash. Like, I really commend what you did.
Oh, thank you.
But you know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say, right? It's like,
It was not safe at all. There was no
yeah,
security
exactly.
for job.
You will have to explain, and if you really want to do something that you're interested in, you'll have to explain and convince them. I feel like that's a very common scenario in Nepalese culture.
Yeah. And like for all the international students, once you get, say, in the pathway of, okay, you got a job, you got an internship, or you find out jobs, and then you get into the company through even, say, like a lot of consultancy or by yourself. So like, how does the process go into being like, okay, now I'm the United States, like a lot of the OPT and the green card and H-1B, there are a lot of statuses, and you get everything comes bumping into you once you get into that position where you have to apply or you have to be kicked out. You will get kicked out of United States.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, have you, like, when you went into like going into from one status to another, how was your experience?
So I was really lucky in that sense because my company that hired me for my first full-time job, it was Semantic back then, but now it's called Veritas. They sponsor a lot of international people. So they had a team of lawyers that already knew how to deal with all of those. So I just had to talk to my manager and tell him that this is what I need in order to legally work here and continue to work here. So my manager had done so many other visa sponsorships. He knew what I was talking about exactly because he had that experience. They already had the legal team in place. It wasn't that difficult. I feel like that's pretty common in software industry because software industry has a lot of international people like Indians, Chinese, Nepalese. These days, most of the times they know what they're doing. So it's just a matter of you telling them, hey, this is what I need in order to legally
Yeah,
work
and
here.
at least those were, I guess, a few. Now it's still the same situation where you can apply for job, and maybe there's a lot of easy and hard ways. A lot of people, a lot of companies don't sponsor. But what I've been hearing about is recently I've been hearing the Trump administration is kind of taking its step back on the H-1B and OPT status for a lot of students. So once, if they get canceled, those kind of H-1B or OPT, can you just imagine how things will turn out?
Oh, it will end up terribly for so many people.
Yeah.
Because the only way to legally work here is to get a H-1B working visa, right? And if they're not allowing that, I don't know how else it could work.
And just
So either people would have to go back and get a master's degree or find some way to stay in college or find a different job, or I don't know, like it will be really difficult.
yeah, just imagine if we graduated and then we have to find a job, and we put in our, like, we put ourselves in that position. It was like, okay, the H1 B is gone. The OPT is, even the OPT is going to be the most important thing. Like, it's going to be
Yeah,
gone. And then you put yourself is like, what am I going to do next? You have to go back to your country, which is not bad, but like, you spend so many time, so many years in United States, you at least want to work a limited time, or whatever amount of time you would want to work and serve the community, United States community, for whatever you achieved with your mind. Now you have to go back,
yeah,
and then the infrastructure of Nepal is not able to sustain that many level of people who have achieved a certain, like educational level, and have them be
yeah,
placed in a specific job that will equip them for their output. So almost feels like they are just crushing the whole thing.
yeah. I know. I mean, I know a few people that have gotten degrees here and gone back and done a wonderful job. Like
Mhm.
some people have started their own companies, have hired people, and if you can do that, and if you're at that state, um, I think that's a great thing. But not everyone, because of various reasons, personal, professional, whatever reasons, is are not able to do that. So if in that situation, it's very important for us to be able to get the working visa or whatever visa status that is required for us to keep working here.
So in your perspective, so as being an international student and being able to work for your company, so do you, like, I'm just going to put you in a pedestal, like put you in a position where it's like, do you feel like you are doing good for United States from like, are you in the position where, like, you coming as an international student and studying here
Are
for,
you trying to ask me if I'm a good citizen?
not a citizen, good human being,
I'm not a
but like,
citizen, but good. Am I contributing to
yeah,
the
to
economy
society.
of the United States?
Yes. Like, so
I think so. I pay a lot of taxes.
so beside taxes, like, do you feel like, I know, like, that's a hard question for every single one of us. It's who try to come here, like, to achieve a bigger dream. But like, are we doing good for the United States? Is where, like, a lot of people, say Americans, who don't understand about the whole situation of international students coming here for study, and what dreams and aspects, and what level of endurance we had to go through, and come here and be not be able and be shackled on all the chains of the status, that you can be able to work, you cannot be able to work, and go through all of that. And then when this news like this, like OPT is going to be canceled, or H1B is going to be canceled for a couple of times, like, I don't know how long. And then when that hits, like, how do you make them feel like, okay, we're important?
I think, I mean, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious that um, majority of the workforce in the software or IT industry is immigrants, and there are so many examples of immigrants running those companies, starting those startup companies. So it's actually contributing so much to the economy of this country. If the government of the US doesn't realize and recognize how much immigrants have contributed and actually helped in the total economy of this country, I think it's a loss for them.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
absolutely is.
I can only talk from my level, and there's only so much I can say. And I mean, I feel like all of us as human beings, it's our responsibility to keep pushing and making sure that our voices are heard, and making them realize that no, this is actually a good thing that we have immigrants in this country, because we are actually running the economy
Economy.
basically. Yeah.
And just not the economy, like, you are being a part of the community, you're helping out, like, build something, you're paying your taxes, and just the whole idea of the, the way the international students work, or the way the American system has been working, having the international students come in and being able to fight for their opportunity and be able to compete and work and produce and serve the community has been so massively impactful for the betterment. It's not just we just immigrated here and we just want we want to do something, and we did not just come here and we're like, okay, I'm helpful for no reason. We actually studied, like a lot of international students come here and studied, be we got used to the culture of United States. When you say we've been here for 12, 10 years, do you feel of course we are Nepali, but do you feel like more Americanized, or do you say you are you almost feel like American, don't you?
I don't know if I quite feel American yet, but I guess I feel somewhere in between.
And that's where I stand too.
Yeah, I'm a Nepalese, but I'm Nepali, or whatever you want to call Nepalese or Nepali. But I have also lived a significant amount of my adult life here, and I learned so many things here. I guess, learned to be independent and be myself, working human being here. So that I can't take that fact away. So in a sense, I do feel a little bit American, but I also feel Nepali in my heart. So it's I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
somewhere in between. And
yeah.
I think a lot of us feel that way.
Yeah, one of the most painful feel, a angry feel moment I feel is when people from Nepal make us feel like we are more American, and when we are in America, we feel more like Nepali, and that's just we don't know where we are. My mind has been culturally, socially, I'm more American. I think more like an American in that sense of I know more about America because the age when you actually get into adulthood and where you start to develop your mind into being more better as an adult is when we came to United States. So the exact time when we become more stronger adult, we are in United States. So all the values of United States kind of ripple on us. So
yeah, exactly. I think even my accent, even our accents, I feel changed so much from when we were back home to here. It's not completely American, but it's not completely Nepali too.
Yeah,
It's
I have
even the accent is in between. It's I don't know, something else now.
we don't know our own accent.
Yeah.
A lot of people say Indian accent is more recognizable, or other accents Latin accents are more recognizable. Nepalese accents are we don't know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. I think even the Americans are kind of confused in the beginning. Where are you from originally?
Yeah, the accent is such a weird one because, I remember, okay, I'm gonna tell a story. So when I came to United States, so my English till 10th grade was really good, but my 11th and 12th grade in my high school was our rebel phase, was we don't want to speak English, we want to speak Nepali. So I butchered my English. So I never spoke English for 11th and 12th grade. So when I came to United States, now I had to recover all of my English, whatever I had. And whenever I spoke with an American saying anything, it comes to here. And if something happens here, it doesn't translate. It's just I know that in Nepali. What do I say that in English? It's this was my literal response when I was talking with an American. It's just right in front of them, "Kyo cha ni? Kasto?"
I know, it's hashtag relate.
Yes, for you, have you ever felt the way you transition from any we had a lot of Nepalese community in our school, so you don't necessarily have to speak English all the time, but you do have to speak with a lot of teachers and so on. But it took us longer to get used to speaking English when we had more Nepalese friends around, right?
Yes, exactly. I feel and we have this, okay, so Asian people tend to be really I don't know, this
Shy.
herd mentality.
So if
They
there's,
want to be, they want to stick together all the time, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
but
But
it's not a good thing if you come to United States and want to learn about America and get used to American culture. Then when
yes,
we have like few Nepalese friends and you stick together and don't even care about learning about American culture, you learn nothing.
yeah. So I do feel like sometimes I do feel like I could have learned so much more in college than I actually ended up learning,
It's just like,
or like
yeah.
practicing my English
So,
or whatever.
tell me a story. Like, tell me how well. Like, when did you get really comfortable with speaking English? And okay, even deeper question. Do you think in Nepali or do you think in English?
So nowadays it depends. Sometimes if it's, if it's something okay, so I'm going to tell you something. This is kind of weird. I don't know if you can relate to this.
Yeah.
If it's something like a phrase or something that we are used to saying back home, like, oh, like I don't know, like what is a Nepali phrase, like, oh, I don't know, like घाँटी हेरेर हाड निल्नु or something
Yeah,
like that, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like,
Proverb.
yeah, proverbs, if it fits to something and like I'm trying to say that, like it comes in Nepali. So that's when like things like that, if it's something that I've learned back home and I'm so used to it, and like I say it often, I think in Nepali. But then there are other things that I learned in America too, like words that I had never heard of before, like I don't know, like some fancy words like shenanigans or something like that. Like,
Okay, what is shenanigans in Nepali?
I have no idea. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like there are some things that I cannot think in Nepali because sometimes I don't even know the Nepali
Okay,
word for
I
that.
think I
But
think
then
I
there
just
are
made
other
up a
things that,
I think I just made up a word for shenanigans. It's like utaulopan.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that relates. But yeah, it's like there are there are many words in English that we cannot change in Nepali, and we slowly start to divulge or like go away from Nepali thinking or the way think in Nepali to we
Yeah.
start to think a little bit of phases in English. So when I'm
Yeah.
talking to you and I need to think of something, I'm like confused now. Should I think it in English or should I think in Nepali? We just
Yeah.
we just break off.
Yeah. So when I say like I feel in between, it's true for even the language, you know, like it's not always the same. Like sometimes I think in Nepali, sometimes I think in English. Like it's not consistent. So that's another reason why I don't feel completely American. I don't feel completely Nepali or whatever.
Yeah, like when you had like interactions with American, do you try to okay, this is more like a for us naturally when we talk with American, we try to speak in a better English way. Like
Yeah.
there's one thing about us speaking with
You try to
American.
show off a little bit.
Yeah, try to be more clearer, but I don't think it
Yeah.
works. But we talk English with American a different way than we talk English with Nepalese. We basically don't want to talk English with Nepalese, do we?
No.
No. if I talk, if I met you in person, if I had to talk English with you beside doing a program, it will make me horribly uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we want to do that. I don't know why. Like it's really weird doing that.
Yeah, it's just like think about like if there's an American friend beside us, then we talk in English. But
Yeah.
like if there,
Even then sometimes,
yeah,
we completely ignore the American friend and we just continue on with our Nepaliness.
and we're not like trying to be like arrogant.
Rude.
Yeah, we're not trying to
Yeah.
be rude, but that's how it is. Like naturally, we're just like it's really hard to speak English with this like another Nepali because
Yeah.
uh, it makes you feel like yeah, almost feels your English starts your quality of English starts to drop when you know you're speaking English with another Nepali. Either you put in like some sad words or
Yeah.
you just like
Yeah.
"Bhat khayo, khayo," kind of like a really crappy second level English. It goes really bad.
Yeah. I know.
Like, did you have a good English when you were growing up?
No, not at all. I feel like even my first year in college, I feel like I had a terrible English. Like I couldn't really express myself properly. I'm not saying that I'm an expert now and I'm so fluent and I can speak in English. Even today, I sometimes struggle expressing my feelings. Sometimes I feel like certain things I feel like I can express myself better when I talk in
Yeah,
Nepali.
like right till here, and it doesn't come out of your mouth.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I guess we're never gonna be like natural English speakers, no matter how hard we try.
Yeah, I remember the joke. It's like back home in Nepal, like I remember somebody saying like, "हेर्न अमेरिकाको बच्चाहरू के अरे बच्चादेखि नै English बोल्छ." So, English listeners, like when we were in Nepal, we thought it's like, oh my God, like the kids of Americans speak English like from when they are kids. Like,
Yeah,
when did they learn?
yeah.
It's just
I think that was a famous joke.
yeah, it is, and you almost feel that too. Like when like a lot of a lot of Nepalese community, when they start to have kids, and they have American tone, you
Yup.
can like they're not gonna have Nepali tone at all.
No, yeah,
So
that's
the
true.
first descendants of any immigrants are gonna be Americanized immediately.
Yeah, yup. I know. It must, I don't know. I wonder sometimes, is it weird for those kids to have parents that don't have that accent? I don't know. Are our kids gonna hate us
I,
for having?
well, my mom and dad are both Newari, right? So both are Srestha, but they have a Newari accent, and that's when
Okay.
I never spoke Newari with mom and dad. Just like for fun, we did, but I understand them. I never spoke to them. So my mom and dad speaks Newari to each other. I've never heard them speak English in Nepali. So
Oh, okay.
when they speak Nepali, it feels like it makes me uncomfortable. Like, why are they speaking Nepali? So they always speak
Okay.
Newari with each other, but they speak like Nepali with me. So I can understand Newari, and English is basically we all study that. But like when I came to United States and I have to speak English, that Newari tone, like I had that little accent, Newari accent comes into Nepali, and then it turned morphed into a Newari tone English. For I have no idea. It's just like whenever I hate my own voice, whenever I hear it, just like oh my god, there's a lot of Newari tone, which is not good or not bad. It's just like there is that, but I never spoke.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah,
It's just you.
and that's what I feel is like all the first generation are they're gonna hear from all the good speakers of English, and their parents are like, you don't speak proper English, and that's when they start to complain.
Yeah, probably. We'll see what happens.
And like you said you're in Minnesota, you're wearing Vikings t-shirt. So
Oh, yeah.
I know there's a lot of weird things happening there. First of all, for people who don't know, there's a Black Lives Matters movement happening, and there's a lot of chaos happening right there in Minneapolis. So from the riot place, how far do you live?
I live about 20 minutes drive, maybe.
So you're 20 minutes drive away from the riot place.
Yeah, so I live in St. Paul,
Uh-huh.
and the whole thing happened in Minneapolis. So it's like Minneapolis and St. Paul is about 20 minutes drive.
Mm-hmm. And like I heard the news, like they defunded the police, or they went off with the police. So there's no actually police department in Minneapolis right now, right?
Really? I haven't heard that. I don't know.
Yes.
No,
So,
I mean, I heard. So last I heard is when they were demanding to defund the police, but I don't know.
hey, you're pointing
Did that
away.
happen
That's like
already?
you're like demanding right now.
No, did that happen already?
Yeah, I think
I
that
haven't watched the news in a while.
the council members kind of voted to uh, like basically get rid of police. So that's a really interesting concept. Just think they might bring it back again, but they're going to have a drastically lot of changes to it, which might be really good. So there might be a lot of things. Did you ever feel like the cops in Minnesota felt a little weird?
I mean, cops are weird in general, in my opinion. No, but I don't really know. I mean, I guess, I mean, I understand the sentiment of people that are protesting, and I believe in equality between all races and every human being. So I support
The
them,
movement and yeah.
and yeah, their demands need to be fulfilled. And I mean, we're living in 21st century. We shouldn't be discriminated based on race or like color and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So I do support that. But personally, I guess I haven't really faced that, so I can't really speak for that.
Yeah. Have you ever faced have you ever had any interaction with cops?
Um, no, not really.
You're like super nice. You're like, so most
Yes, I'm
like
like,
the cops are like, oh my God, she would not do anything at all, nothing bad at all. She's like,
they'll be like, look at her face. She looks so innocent. Okay, you're free.
okay.
No, just
I
kidding.
mean, yeah,
But even if I did, I would never reveal it to you.
okay. Yeah, like my interaction with the cops has basically not been bad. Uh, lot of my own mistakes, a lot of not traffic stuff. I've been pulled over, but most of all, like with the police myself, as soon as they see me, they feel like, oh, this is a like look. I look a little young, so just like a kid, doesn't matter. So never been like aggressive. Like all my interaction with the cops has always been pretty good. But with all of the videos on YouTube and so on, especially like with things happening in Minnesota, I was like, I almost felt like that's like I feel connected to Minnesota. I almost feel like that is my home place in America. Is like Minnesota. It feels more like a home state for me. And like the cops, were they really bad? Maybe for us, it didn't make that much. We didn't never had that much of interaction with the cops, but the community around there might have had a
Yeah.
different outlook.
Wait, okay, so that reminds me of our parties in St. Cloud State University. So whenever we had those late night parties going on beyond 2 a.m., we had cops knocking at our doors
Yeah.
almost every morning. But I think that was generally true for all the students that were
Yeah, I
partying
mean
that
that
late, not just us.
St. Cloud State, like that's a really small community. So the cops and everybody were just like college party students. So I don't think they really cared about the race thing, or they weren't that like super aggressive compared to the cities like Minneapolis, where the crime rate is a lot higher than the St. Cloud State. And I
Yeah.
felt like oh, I lived in Kansas City too, like a nearby Kansas City too. I always hear the Kansas City, like those kind of any cities, Kansas City, New York, or Minneapolis. Every city has a little bit more crime rates and more probability of having harsher cops, like behaving with you. So that
Mhm.
almost feels like maybe it's a city problem, not just.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a racial problem, a policing problem. The police never get trained, and for us as an international student, any interaction with the cops always feels really scary.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But in general, like in my life, have I faced any racism? Yes, I have faced racism. There have been a few incidents, like when we were renting an apartment in St. Cloud State. Our landlord used to. So first off, our apartment was so dirty. We had bed bugs and cockroaches running around, and
Okay.
it was probably because like it was like seven people living together in one apartment and everyone's being so busy, like we had no time to clean and stuff.
Okay, like
But
you're just dirty.
no, yeah, but our landlord used to blame us for bringing those bed bugs from Nepal, as if we filled our suitcases with like bed bugs and cockroaches to bring it to America. So I thought that was pretty racist. He blamed us for
Yeah.
bringing bed
Was it
bugs.
bad with
And
the other things like there's a little bit of those kind of tone, but I remember like those kind of apartment they interacted with Nepalese a lot too, so a lot of them have good or bad stories, but might have been tired of Nepalese having a lot of complaint. Yeah, Nepalese do have what do you call, a lot of Nepalese cook with a lot of masalas, right?
yeah.
Americans don't cook with masala, so masala kind of ruin your apartment too. So
Yo.
we create the stereotype ourselves a little bit. So a lot of like a Nepalese community and a lot of Somali community uh, do degrade the apartments a little bit more than American community. They don't cook with masala at all. So
Yeah.
the landlords kind of feel like, oh, they're ruining the apartment in the this way or that way. Not just being generalized, but like there are definitely racist landlords as well. So who just
Yeah.
like stereotype is like, oh, Nepali, they just do this or that bad thing, and
Yeah.
some of them almost feels a little bit justified in that sense. They just got tired of some things we do as we come from Nepal, we just need to adapt to the culture as well. We don't want to sometimes, but we do need to do that. We have to be considerate of other people here. But a lot of times those were like not legible. They just like to throw bad things. But
Yeah.
besides those, did you have any interactions? I can't recall anything bad for me. So
And there was another incident. So one time I was taking a bus from downtown St. Cloud to our UVT apartment, and I was waiting for the bus. Actually, me and some of my other friends, we were waiting for the bus, and there was this crazy person. I don't know if he was actually crazy or he was just like drunk or something. He saw us brown people and he pointed at us and he was like, "These guys are responsible for taking the Twin Towers," and like he walked away.
wait, hold on,
So
hold
this,
on. That guy was that guy black or white?
yes, he was black.
You know what?
You were with us.
Holy shit! I forgot about that. So
Yeah, you
holy
remember that
shit.
incident, right? It was like
Yeah,
when we were
that
still
was
new.
the dumbass. Like the guy was black and he was like chanting racist stuff, and we were like
Yeah,
really we were new to the United States, so we have no idea. We're just like, okay, this guy is crazy, and we don't care. Like we didn't
yeah,
care. We're just like, okay.
yeah,
But I remember the bus driver was really nice. He stopped the bus
yep,
and made the other guy get out,
yeah,
and that made for me at that time didn't make sense. It's like, okay, I mean the driver was really nice, so that helped us out a little bit to get away from
yeah,
there. But we never felt like, oh, he's racist, so I should feel bad. We didn't even care.
yeah.
Did you feel
I mean,
bad?
we just,
Yeah,
I mean, I remember that incident and I remember that as a racist incident that
yeah,
happened to me, but it wasn't like I was offended and I was sad and like
yeah. We didn't
sitting there
care.
crying, oh, like this person
Yeah,
is so racist, I'm so offended. I mean, it's just an incident that I
yeah.
recall
Yeah,
when I think of
yeah. If
racist
those kind of
incidents.
things would have repeated more often, then we would have felt. But somehow our community was okay. Luckily we never had to face those beside one time,
Yeah,
which is we still remember that. So it has an impact, but didn't
yep,
have an impact to have us feel bad about the community. But there are
yeah,
those kind of people like. That's a really weird one. I completely forgot about that.
yeah, I know. Like things like that still happen.
Yeah. And the thing about racism itself is you gotta be strong. Like no matter who says what, you gotta fight for it. It's like
Yep,
luckily we haven't faced that much of it, but for people of color, of any immigrants or so on, when they come to United States for education, for anything at all, you gotta fight for it.
yep,
You're gonna face it one way or another, from even from black people, even from white people, or any cultural. Asians
yeah,
have a lot of
yeah,
stereotypes and racist stereotypes of their own. We are pretty aware of that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, I have another story
Go
that
ahead.
I just remembered. This I got accused of being a racist recently, and I consider myself a completely non-judgmental, non-racist person ever on this planet. It was so weird. Okay, so I was
Okay, go
going
ahead. Go ahead.
grocery
Okay, clarify
grocery
yourself.
shopping. Okay, I was going to buy groceries. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and I was outside the grocery store, uh, about to enter the grocery store, and there was this guy. I mean, he was black.
Mhm.
He came towards me and he was like, "Ma'am, I'm a St. Cloud. I'm a student in St. Cloud State. I'm trying to get back home right now, but I don't have any money. Can you
Oh
help
my
me out?"
God.
And
You know.
okay, hear my story
Okay,
out.
go ahead.
And then he looked a bit incoherent, like he was under influence of some kind or something like that. He was kind of, I mean, struggling a little bit. So
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh, okay, so you say you're a student in St. Cloud State. Show me your ID." And he was like, oh, it's in my car, it's parked like 2 blocks away from here, I can yeah, like yeah, I'm a student. And I'm like, I don't trust you, go and get your student ID and then I'll help you out. And he was like, trust me, I'm a student, like it's 2 blocks away, please ma'am, help me out, blah blah blah. And I'm like I just don't trust you. And he's like, why do you not want to help me? You're not helping me because I'm black. And I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with your color of your skin. I just don't trust you. I feel like you're not telling me the real story. You're just trying to get money from me and use it on drugs or something. And he's like, you're racist, bitch. And he gave me the finger and I'm like, fuck you. Like I gave him the finger back and he went away. Like he was like, you're racist. And I'm like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's like they don't know Rashmi is a tiger. Don't mess with the tiger.
No, like I wouldn't usually do that, but like he was clearly telling me like he's a St. Cloud student, blah blah blah. I'm like, show me your ID because I know St. Cloud State's ID.
You literally are from St. Cloud State.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's those kind of incidents are really common. I mean, you can't say it's like it's Minnesota. I heard the exact like phrases similar here in Dallas, Texas. It's just like a lot of people come here, uh, mostly like I guess a lot of homeless people. They just come in and say, "Sorry, my car is like I need a few dollars for my car, and it's I'm running out of money. I need to go somewhere. Uh, if I have money, like I know they're gonna use it for some. Maybe they need money, but
Yeah.
a lot of times they use it for drugs or anything at all. But for me, if I have it, I give it. If I don't have it, or it depends on their attitude, I'm saying like I don't
Yeah.
have it. But a lot of the times I know it's like my card is right there, and I give the money and I just watch, and so I see him leave and then ask another person and then leave and keep on
Yeah.
working. So that's more of their, I guess, the dialogue they use to like, to beg for money. And a lot of
Yeah.
times it just depends on the person. Like not all beggars are good people. Not all like there's that like you try to help out even though they are good or bad as much as you can. But when somebody is not behaving properly or somebody's lying to your face, is you decided to not face the lie and you decided to ask questions and
Yeah.
he got offended. It's his own fault for like making a bad story.
I know. So, okay, in the beginning, I wasn't, I used to believe whenever people used to come up to me and tell me stories like that and ask me for money, there have been so many times that I have actually given them the money. And then at certain point, you start questioning, like, are these people, where are these people coming from? Do they really need the money or are they just like abusing me, you know? And then once you realize that you're actually being abused by those beggars, you kind of have to stand up for yourself, sort
And
of,
it's
you
a
know?
bad thing to do too, right? Like, it's like I wanna be stand up for myself and not give money to a beggar who might be who of course needs money, but might be
Yeah.
using it for good or bad. You don't know. It's just like you feel bad for yourself. It's almost like the charity thing, like when you go to Walmart and you're just like, don't the instead of the option in the machine to say no, I don't want to donate, the person says to
Yeah.
your face is like, will you please donate $1 to our
Yeah.
charity? And you just look at the same at the place and like, yes, but how many times?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm gonna donate. And nowadays what I'm doing is like, oh, I just did donate it. I'm like, I'm kind of lying, but not really because I did donate some times ago. But it just makes you feel bad, like when you like that. That's
I know what you're trying to say. It's like you feel abused when you actually do it, but you also feel guilty for not doing it when you don't do it. So it's like
yeah, you're trying to help out,
fine
but
balance.
you kind of know that it's not helping them out the way you think, and they're just gonna. It's a really conundrum. Like I think of back in Nepal, like when I was a kid, I was generous. Like I used to give out water bottles, like
Generous. Ooh.
as a kid I was like because if I see another kid who does the way I did, I will say that kid is a generous kid, right? As a kid I
Yep.
used to give out water bottles, like some water or money. I was a kid, like I didn't have much money, so I'd give out whatever I had to the kids around New Road area, and as much as I can. And sometimes I just like have a stack of money in my pocket and somebody asks me I need a money, and then I'm like, sometimes I have to say no, and you're going to feel bad, and
Yeah.
I just walk out, and I start feeling guilty. I'm like, I should have given something, and
Yeah, I
that
know.
guilt
I know
is
that
preceding.
feeling.
But there's always a limit. Like you can't always be open to every single thing. I try to be open more than I would want to, but there's always like, okay, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Even nowadays, like whenever you pull over a car, like when you stop, there's somebody's asking, like begging for money,
Yup.
you give it. But
Yeah.
like for how much? Like how many? Like the amount may be little, but you kind of feel like maybe I'm doing too much. And then
Yeah.
when you stop being generous, and then you start to feel guilty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's only so much one person can do. Like, you can't just donate everything you have forever.
Yeah, like
And sometimes
uh-huh.
we don't have cash. Like, these days, people don't even carry cash around. So a lot of times when that happens, like, I don't even have cash.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, I
What?
just be like, oh, I don't have cash.
Yeah, one time I had a bunch of grocery, right? Like I just went to a grocery. I just bought a couple of things, and while I was driving, and it was near the intersection, and there was a person like asking for money at the beggar, and then he asked for something. Like I felt really, really like I just have a bunch of groceries, and he doesn't have food, so I started to feel really like guilty. Like I need to give him something. I didn't
Oh,
have cash,
yeah.
so I gave him a big pineapple, a big
That's so
pineapple.
sweet of you, Abbas.
But how is he gonna open it? And once I get out, I felt even more guilty. It's like he has to carry that pineapple all the time. How is he gonna open it? I just made him carry the whole thing. It's more difficult
Yeah,
to open.
he, he probably cursed you for giving
Yeah, I'll accept that curse
that
because I would
pineapple.
not give a pineapple to somebody who is homeless anymore. Let's just think like it's pineapple are heavy and it's hard to
Yeah,
carry because it's spiky, and you
yeah,
don't have a knife like to cut it, or it once you eat it, it's gonna get sticky. So it's like
yeah.
stupid in all reason. I'm like, why did I? Okay, yeah, that's always interesting. And
Yeah.
man, we've been talking like all the way from OPT, like all those to being a being
From IT to
begging
being charitable.
charity. I have no idea, but yeah, like we had really interesting conversation, and like a lot of the times I feel like when we get to talk with a lot of our old friends who are doing in a different field, it's always fun to interact in those cases. Like everybody has so many stories, right? You have like
Yep.
your stories of being an internet student and working in the IT field and doing pretty good in a place and living in Minnesota, which has a lot of its own stories, and we just live
Yeah.
inside those stories.
Yeah, exactly. In a sense, we are all our own stories.
Yeah, and it's really fun to like get to know a little bit interesting things about you. But yeah, like this has been really wonderful, and hope I'll have you as a guest again someday. So really thankful for you to commit your time for me.
I'm so honored to be here and be able to talk to you and express my feelings. This
Thank you.
has been dream come true. Thank you so much, Abhash.
You
How
just
can I ever thank you?
you just spoke like like as I said like before, like when you speak English with Nepali, and once we're done with the conversation, we have to speak English. Yeah, like your English levels went down. Quality of your English went down, and the quality of your structure went like
I
you wrote it
I
down.
guess yeah, I guess I felt a bit too comfortable. No, but this has been really fun. I just hope that everything I said is just my experience, and
Yeah.
that's all that I shared. I don't claim to be an expert on anything like in IT field or whatever.
Hey, don't
But
say that to your employer. They hired you because you're an expert.
I hope they're not on my Facebook. But
Okay,
whatever. Um, um,
but
I think I did a good job on like blocking them. Not blocking them. Like you can choose the settings. You know what I mean on
oh yeah,
Facebook.
I really
Like
hope your
some people can
employers.
only see certain things.
Okay, I really hope your employers don't see this video.
No, but what I'm trying to say is I don't claim to be an expert, and this is
Yeah,
merely my opinion and my
yeah,
experience that I've
absolutely.
shared on this show.
Yeah,
That's it.
and thank you so much. Like this, it's been really fun to talk with you. So thank you so much, and hope like I really hope like a lot of this message of like your IT experience can be useful for a lot of other students who come to United States or who have been about to graduate and trying to find a job, and it's like get your internship and see the value, see be ready for all of the challenges that's about to come in your way, especially with the era of not being everything is unsure. We're literally in pandemic. There's a riot going
Yeah.
around, and the OPT and H1 seems uncertain, and there's lots so much uncertainty that we have to live through. And maybe any message we got out of this podcast that might be helpful for students, that's always a win-win.
Yeah, definitely. If this conversation can help or make even one person smile, then I think that's more than worth it. And thank you so much, Avash, for doing this wonderful podcast. I mean, this is a great initiative, and I wish you good luck. And I hope you see lots of success and
Oh, thank you.
in everything you do.
Okay, thank you so much, and say hi to Steve. Was like
Yeah, okay, I'll say, I'll give you Steve, whatever.
okay, yeah.
He's gone.